I don't know where he is. Oh, he's over there. Hank Dunbar. Hank is the manager of the Charitable and Philanthropic Group at First Citizens Bank. He is here with CG and Darren, who are part of his team. Hank, that group is over in Raleigh and Charlotte. I've worked with Hank for the past couple of years at Pardee. He brings a wealth of knowledge and experience to our world, helping nonprofits manage assets. I asked Hank to talk about the difference in donors generationally. This is the first time in our work life we're dealing with 4, maybe even 5 generations of donors. And there are clearly huge differences between a 30-year-old and an 80-year-old. And so that's what Hank's going to be talking about today. He's a great speaker. So give your attention to Hank, and thank you for paying attention.
It's an honor to be here today. I know I'm not supposed to advertise, but this little sheet is our 5 service tenants, and it is over on the table where you registered, and it has my name and contact information on it, and of course we would like to have your business. That's it. So that you will understand where I come from, and this is where I'm going to be. Is that good? Probably. At least for 30 seconds. Yes, ma'am.
Wow.
Yes, ma'am. So, when I went to Campbell University in Boys Creek, North Carolina, I went to Campbell College, graduated from Campbell University, and my first job out of college was in the admissions office. I worked for the Bell Company for 3 years and then went back to work for Campbell as Director of Alumni Activities. I did alumni for 3 years, went to law school. While I was in law school, took care of a few actuarially attractive widows without children. Do y'all know that? An acronym or whatever? Anyway, while I was in law school, they were Campbell supporters. And then when I graduated from law school, did estate planning for the university, left as general counsel. Went to BB&T in 1999. After 5 years, they were doing some reorganization. Asked me if I would be responsible for the administrative piece of our philanthropic group, which was all of the philanthropic group, was the administrative piece. And then 3 years ago, this October, left BB&T to go to First Citizens. First Citizens wanted to develop. It was the right time in my life to do it. I love the people at BB&T. They're great people. We're better. So, again, so that's 2 political statements. I'll stop. I want to read you a book. It's called It's a Book. And it so signifies what we are here to talk about today. And I'll hold it up. What do you have there? It's a book. How do you scroll down? I don't. I turn the page. Do you blog with it? No, it's a book. Where's your mouse? Can you make the characters fight? No, book. Can it text? No. Tweet? No. Wi-Fi? No. Can it do this? Woo! No. It's a book. Look. Nodded Long John Silver. We're in agreement then? He unsheathed his broad cutlass, laughing a maniacal laugh. Ha, ha, ha. Jim was petrified. The end was upon him. Then in the distance a ship. A wide smile played across the lad's face. Too many letters. I'll fix it. LJS. R-K? LOL. Jim. Smile and frown. So, does it need a password? No. Need a screen name? It's a book. So he sits and reads the book. Are you going to get my book back? No. Fine. I'm going to the library. Don't worry, I'll charge it up when I'm done. You don't have to. It's a book, jackass. my family gave me that because when I got my, I did not want a Nook. And my wife bought me a Nook. And I love my Nook. And I got a nice leather cover for it so it smells like a book. And enjoy downloading or uploading, whatever you call it, to my Nook. But I have found in my Nook, when I like something, I'll go and buy a copy of it to put on my bookshelf, and I'll buy another copy of it to give a friend to read. Because I'm not giving them my copy ever to read. I have one friend I'll trade books with. So it really does wonders for Barnes & Noble. It's not real good for my pocketbook. Our discussion today is about motivations for giving and the differences between generations. I did a similar program for Kim at Party Hospital Foundation Board meeting a couple years ago. And as we talked through the program, I asked everybody to divide themselves into the different generations, raise their hands, and they did. So we had a lot of the silent generation, the golden era people. We had a lot of baby boomers, a few X's. We had 2 Y's, I believe, and they were paid staff members. So to that board, I made the point that needed to be made. You have got to engage younger people in your development efforts. I say that and I say this, and I'm going to read this because it's just something that's better read. As a rule of thumb, a philanthropic organization can anticipate 80% of all contributions arising from a mere 20% of its donor base. And you all say, duh. Commonly references the 80-20 rule. In actuality, studies show that 80% of contributions come from only 12% of donors, and further evidence shows that 76% of contributions will be derived from only the top 3% of donors. 78% of your contributions are derived from the top 3% of donors. So, motivations. Communitarians, they give because of their sense of belonging to a social community. They consider nonprofits more effective at dealing with and delivering social services. They have a history in and are tied to a local community. The devout, they do good because it is God's will. Giving is a moral obligation. Donors should not expect personal recognition for giving time, talent, or money. Investors, philanthropy is good business. They are motivated by current and estate tax benefits. They support organizations that are business-like and respond effectively to civic needs. Socialites, and we have none of these in our database. Focus on doing good works or giving because it is fun, which I would say an ugly word too. Fundraising is tied to socializing and entertainment. Fundraising is tied to the bar. And they are charitable at heart as long as there is plenty of liquor. I'm sorry. Altruists, causes and giving that provide a sense of purpose and fulfillment. They believe giving promotes spiritual growth that is not religious in nature. True philanthropy, unfettered and untainted by business considerations or personal gain. Really good people. Communitarians, about repayers, do good in return for what they've received. They believe the wealthy have a social responsibility to be philanthropic, and they insist on cost effectiveness. Dynast, philanthropy is a family tradition. Philanthropy is part of their self-concept, and philanthropy is universal. It is everyone's responsibility. When I have conversations with some of our wealth clients about setting up a fund, that is one point that I hit as hard as I can hit it. Do not do this on your own. If you have children, bring them to the table with you and let them have the authority over a percentage of the distributions you're going to make from your fund in a year so that you can get them engaged early on in their lives. The challenge. As leaders, we face the challenge of connecting company values to a diverse workforce. To attract, retain, and motivate very different generations of workers, we must understand their unique perspectives and the national events that shape their values. To maximize performance, the generations need to work together in harmony, bridging the generational divide through shared values. From Barnett Winning, Bridging the Generation Values Gap. I have restated it. As leaders, we face the challenge of connecting foundation values to a diverse giving population to attract, retain, and motivate very different generations and types of donors. We must understand their unique perspectives and the national events that shape their values. To maximize results, the generations and types of donors need to work together in harmony, bridging the generational divide through shared values and mission. So the question becomes, will the traditional methods of fundraising and securing other resources continue to work? Putting it politely, probably not. Putting it bluntly, unequivocally no. Putting it even more bluntly, hell no. We got to adjust. So we're talking about the silent generation. They're adaptive. They were born in 1920 to 1945. I have to do ciphering, and I have it written down. So those are people who are 72 years old to 97 years old. Baby boomers, idealists, were started in 1946, and that generation or era ended in 1964. They're people who were 53 to 71. Generation X, the reactive generation, 1965 to 1979. They are 38 to 52. And Generation Y, the Millennials, from 1980 to 1999, they are 18 to 37. The silent generation, general characteristics. They are loyal, industrious, consistent, and conforming. They are, in my case, my mother and father were in that generation. They were influenced by the Great Depression, World War II, tremendous social and technological change. This is the group of people who, no matter how many hundreds of millions of dollars they have, the nursing home is going to take every penny of it. Value, privacy, in their minds, that's what they think. You know, I will never have enough money to support myself and my dotage. How many of y'all know the word dotage?
Good word.
Value, privacy, hard work. They value privacy, hard work, trust, authority, social order, formality, strong sense of duty. When you write the response card to their invitation, it better be right. Communication tips. Do not expect them to share their ideas immediately. Face-to-face or written communication, their word is their bond. Do not waste their time. Now, you can waste all your time in the world listening to their stories, but don't waste their time. Baby boomers, idealists, 1946 to 1964. General characteristics. They are competitive, they are political, they are hardworking, and they are loyal. They were influenced by World War II, even though it was before they were born. World War II was still very much on everybody's mind. Vietnam, civil rights, post-war prosperity, the Cold War, and television. Do you remember your first? Is anybody in this room remember their mother and daddy's first color TV? It rolled around in a little car. What, Kim?
So my mother and daddy's, I remember mine.
Value, hard work, competition, change, teamwork, success, and inclusion. Communication tips. Body language is important. Open and direct communication. Answer their questions and expect to be pressed for details, and present options. Generation X, reactive. General, individualistic, independent, family-focused, and distrusting. Influences, working mothers, information age, end of the Cold War, terrorism, and corporate downsizing. They value autonomy, creativity, work-life balance, and change. The golden era of the silent generation, work-life balance was work. Communication tips. They give feedback, but also ask for their opinions. Share information on a regular basis so they are in the loop. They often prefer quick sound bites. Allow them to solve their own problems when possible. This is a rabbit path real quickly. this is the beginning of the group that when you say, we have a water problem in India and we want to dig wells there, they don't ask you, how much do you need to dig a well? They say, when's the bus leaving? They're going to go to India and help dig the well. Generation Y, 1980 to 1999, 18 to 37. Okay, Ys, raise your hand. I can't raise my hand. Good representative group. Okay. They are group-oriented, civic-minded, adaptive, and idealistic. Back in my days in high school, I was as civic-minded as it got, but there wasn't a whole lot of it. My daddy said, you've got to go to school and get a professional degree. Boom. That was it. Then my parents were great people, but that was because he was born in 1920. That was his mindset. Influences: internet, terrorism, single-parent households, AIDS, and shrinking world. They value diversity, technology, purposeful work, and teamwork. Communication tips: give regular feedback. Email is often preferred. Encourage them to take risk and challenge them to try new things. Use positive reinforcement and make them feel valued. So, a millennial who gets 10 emails from 10 different organizations in a day is not going to read any of them. You have got to, in your research processes, identify what a millennial's priority is, and if it matches with your mission, go for it with everything you've got. Otherwise, you're wasting your time. Between religions. The Protestant work ethic is a sacred calling and worldly success a sign of being chosen or favored. There's a preacher on TV who does that. Protestants often, I said that kind of under my breath, but loud enough to be heard. Protestants often make a strong distinction between worthy versus unworthy causes and stress a person's own responsibility for getting out of poverty. Parents educate their children in the values of initiative, integrity, industry, and thrift. And I'm going to make another political statement. How in the hell can you get out of poverty when you ain't got nothing to get out of poverty? Okay. Catholic. The Catholic puts more emphasis on charity or philanthropy as a way to address poverty or other human needs. Evangelicals give twice as much to charity as Protestants, 3 times more than Catholics, and 4 times more than the general population. They give primarily to faith-based charitable causes and to organizations that directly meet human needs. The Jewish. Tzedakah, or charity, is a responsibility of everyone. Philanthropy is held to be important, acquired behavior, and it is taught to children. I hate that I'm reading, but you don't want me to go off the cuff. Or we'll be here till 3 o'clock. Between cultures, African Americans, individuals are the stewards of the resources of the community and as such have moral and social obligations to it. Awesome lesson for all of us. Latinos, when philanthropy extends beyond the family and the church, it is mediated by personal relationships based on trust. It's good for all of us. Asian Americans, the notions of compassion and service in Buddhism, benevolence in Confucianism, and the relatedness of Taoism, these traditions give rise to reciprocity of giving, the roles of ceremony and ritual, and a priority system starting with the family, then the ethnic community, and finally the larger society. Good lesson. Native Americans. In the Native American world, personal wealth is for distribution and not accumulation. Giving is not considered charity, but the honoring of the community based upon a sense of mutual responsibility. That's just awesome. Women are more likely to give to charitable organizations. Wealthy women are more likely than wealthy men to make charitable bequests, and younger women are more likely to give support to social action causes. Who controls the purse strings at your house? Women, for the most part. I am a well-educated man, and if it were not for my wife, I would not have 50 cents to my name. And we have a son who is 25 who is exactly the way I am, and she gets into him, and I said, remember who you're married to. She's not stingy, but she's frugal and she's good. I write the checks at the beginning of the month, and then the rest of the money goes into her checking account, and good luck getting it out. So those are our notes. What is significant to all of this is that we have to adapt. You're not going to get a lot of money out of an X or a Y because relatively few of them have a lot of money. But you have got to establish a relationship with them early on in the giving cycle, or you're not going to have a relationship with them. They may not be able to give you cash, but they have lots of energy. They have lots of passion if the missions match up with their priorities. And they can do things other than give you money. They can serve on boards. They can help you relate to their generation and building relationships with other members of their generation. Hugely important that we engage them. Because again, this goes back to my days at Campbell. If you can get an alum to start giving $10 a year, the year they give out of school, is what Clemson built IPTE on. $10 a year, you can build a huge program. The people who are going to make a bequest to you in their will are people who have given you $50 a year all their lives and may have never given you more than that every year. They have a connection to you. And it is worth your time and energy to build a relationship with those people who are consistent donors. I did some work for High Point University one year, helping them get their endowment records together. And I went through every endowment file they had, literally every one of 440 endowments. In one, there was a stack this thick of thank you notes to a lady who gave $10 a month. $10. And bless his heart, the advancement director ought to get a Nobel Prize for writing thank you notes. He hand wrote the woman a thank you note every year. When she died, she did not have a lot, but she left every penny she had. Every penny she had, just because she thought that much of their mission and had a connection with the school. What is important for you X's and Y's in the room to remember is that we're not going to change. We've been this way for 58 years. We're not going to change. Do not send me an email asking me to attend an event. I want an invitation. It does not have to be engraved. It better be proper. It can be creative, but it better be proper. It best be in good taste, and it best give a way for me to respond to it. Not necessarily sign a little card that says, Mr. Dunbar will attend. I want to get out my man stationery and write, Mr. and Mrs. Henry O. Dunbar Jr. accept with pleasure the kind invitation of Mrs. Hinkleman for Friday, October the 13th, 1999 or whatever. Give me that chance, God, because I don't get to use it very often anymore. Okay, so you got to deal with us. You got to deal with us where we are. We've got to deal with you where you are. Don't get frustrated. Don't lose sight of what you're doing. One more fundraising story. I work for First Citizens Bank, and we constantly receive requests for money. And we constantly, when they come to me, I tell people, you need to work for your local banker. That's how BB&T does it. That's how First Citizens does it. You go into your local branch office. Don't talk to somebody on the teller line. Go into the branch manager's office, who you hopefully already have a relationship with, and they will run it up the chain, depending on their relationship with your organization and the nature of the assets you have. Frank Holding Jr., we do business with the people who do business with us. But short, sweet, to the point. So, we have a relationship with an organization that we are now in the third generation of holding families on this board. It's one of the most staid boards in North Carolina. Third generation. Last year we sponsored an event for $10,000. That's big money at First Citizens. This year they wanted us to sponsor the event again. The test. What would you have done?
You mean First Citizens? Or?
What would you, as that organization, have done to make the request from First Citizens?
Ask my local branch manager to go higher with you.
Or just go to the person you dealt with last time. As find the organization as you can and underlie your generational connection.
Do you know what they did? They sent us a letter. They sent us a letter. Not one of us, three of us. Three of us said, will you consider doing this again? I was so angry, I almost tore it up. That's not the way you ask for major bucks. And $10,000 to most of us is major bucks. It is significant. It warrants at least a phone call, probably an in-person visit to the donor you are asking to make. We had a relationship that spans over 50 years with this organization. We managed their money for them, and they sent us a letter. So I forwarded the letter upstairs, and the letter got upstairs again, and we're going to sponsor it again. But when I have the opportunity, I'm going to pull someone aside at the organization and say, this is shameful. Last year, we gave them a whole lot more money than just that $10,000 because of the relationship with them. And I don't mean to be crankety. I'm a baby boomer. That's what I expect. Don't send me a letter asking me for money. Now, if it's a mass mailing, that's one thing. But you know, if you're asking for something specific for a large amount of money, then go see your donor. Now, with your X's and Y's who are in the room, when they have $10,000, they might not mind getting an email and asking them for $10,000. It's just not a good way of doing business. Okay, I'm going to stop. Any questions? Any comments? Yes, sir.
I'll make a comment on one thing that you were very sort of nice about in your explanation of socialites. You did not really say that a lot of them are only interested in who else is on the board so that they can move up in society.
Absolutely.
And it's a huge determination factor, particularly with boards that take the people who are rotating off, let them be the committee to find the new board members.
It is a huge social climbing opportunity for someone who is a socialite. And I don't mean to speak disparagingly of them because, bless their hearts, they give us millions of dollars every year. What you've got to know when you bring them on your boards or you invite them to your galas is that you have to contend with them. Understand how you've got to deal with them when you have them. They are hugely important. They oftentimes will buy $1,000 seat at a table just because of who else is going to be in the room.
Right. It's all about where they sit.
Right. They will pay more to get a better seat if there's somebody there to sit beside. I mean, politicians use it every day. Every day. And who gets to go in the room with the politician or the speaker afterwards? Other comments or questions? Yes, ma'am.
So as we look at applying to these X and Y generation, I'm the last year of baby boomers, how do you help make that transition in a very small organization that realizes, you know, whether it's maybe directing your efforts at looking at all of the foundations you work with, and maybe, you know, do you have any suggestions on maybe you start that discussion?
Y'all will throw bread rolls at me.
See if there's any left.
There, we don't know.
You can't expect them to give. You want to engage them, so you develop a board, a committee that will feed onto your board. It gives you it gives you a wonderful opportunity before you invest the efforts in them that you would invest in a full board member, to see how they interact with people, to see how desperately and passionately they want to become engaged with the organization. And there will be those who will want to work themselves onto the board. There will be some who are the true altruists who just want to do whatever you can. And I know you have so much free time to set up another little board. You know, at Campbell, we had the board of trustees, but we can only have trustees who are Baptist in North Carolina. But we have the presidential board of advisors, who were those men and women who were from anywhere in the country or anywhere in the world, who were or were not Baptist. So it was a way of building they had no authority, but they liked to be in the room. It made them feel good. Yes, sir.
You made a comment earlier about involving the children.
Right.
And I forget exactly what the correlation was, but, you know, for those of us that are working on the Quest, any thoughts on the transparency of letting their children know of their intention? Because that obviously can open up Pandora's box. But I think the more the kids are on board or aware or engaged, but then you risk potentially losing a gift too.
Yesterday, I had the privilege of speaking to the National Christian Foundation a symposium they did in Charlotte, and I spoke on ethics. And when you are, real quickly, you have got to engage the advisors of people who you are getting donations from. And oftentimes that will include family members. You don't have to invite, and the donor decides, but there's a point where it is crucial for you to make that invite to the donor. Who else would you like to come and have this conversation with us? Because we need to talk to your CPA about this, because we need to make sure it's the right thing for you to do. Because you have to have some transparency. You have to have some arm's length from it. And you know, do we want to engage the lawyer? At some point, you may have to engage the lawyer. And how do you want us to talk to your children about this? I've handled my children. But you can always make the invitation, would you like for me to come and talk to your children about what they're doing? And when you have when you have grandmama on the board, it's important that you engage grandmama's children and the grandchildren at some point, especially if there's that social community network that you've got. I have thought.
How much, with all these groups, how much segmentation do you suggest we try and do? As we send out annual appeals, as we...
It depends on the nature of your organization and how much capacity you have. But you just can't ignore it. You cannot ignore it. Remind me to say something about advisor when I'm done. Yes, ma'am.
Working in the other direction of having a very young development staff, how do we gain, what are additional steps like to gain the loyalty and trust of much older generations?
So you've got somebody who has supported your work, who is a mature individual.
Lots, yeah.
They're your resource.
Okay.
Because when Miss 75-year-old comes to a board meeting or something, then you ask her, just like I would ask you for business, do you know of other people who are situated similarly to you who would enjoy becoming engaged in our work? Or you do the research and you say, I've got a list of 10 people. Do you know any of these 10 people? If you know them, will you take me to them and introduce me to them? Because in that golden era, the silent generation, it's great to have somebody walk up to the front door. Because you're going to go to the front door. You're not going to their office. You're going home, aren't you? You're going to the house to make a call. Not an appointment. A call.
Although they may not want to clean the house up for you.
They'll take you to the back room where they receive. Been there, done that. So yesterday, y'all will appreciate this, and I'll stop unless you have more questions. I told this group of CPAs and attorneys and bankers, you are not the decision makers. You are advisors. Boom. And kind of like, do you get what I mean? It is not your privilege to tell somebody who's sitting on $12 million that they can't give it to an organization they love today or when they die. Your job is to help them do it the most efficacious, that's another big word, isn't it? Way possible. You knew what dotage was. In the most efficacious way possible. It is not your right to say, no, you cannot do this. Now, granted, morally you have an obligation, professionally you have an obligation at some point to say, this is not good, I wash my hands of it and walk away. I cannot be a party to this. But more often than not, the advisor's place at the table is to advise.
Yeah, but if they give the money away, I can't make commissions on it anymore.
Get on the boat.
Good for you.
Right.
So you call, you get a development officer and they get you more clients.
Right. So, yeah.
You, but,
Okay.
Was that what you wanted to say about advisors?
I remember. I had forgotten a few seconds before. Again, it's a dotage thing.
As an advisor and working for a bank yourself, we do have a lot of attorneys in town.
Absolutely.
And some of them serve specific roles like elder law.
Right.
Do you have any thoughts about an educational, opportunity to engage them further? We know their time is valuable, especially attorneys, or their cost per hour, whatever. But do you have any ideas of how bankers and advisors would, if it's educated
So
to
look
them?
at them. Lawyers, bankers, CPAs, certified trust officers, even brokers. You want them to be your friends. And a lot of times they're your donors. But you can do collective things with them. You can sponsor events that help educate them on planned giving techniques. 9 out of 10 attorneys in Asheville proper probably do not know the very simple planned giving techniques that are available to their clients. And if they don't know them, they're not going to advise their clients to do them. So you have, in the banking world, a plethora of people you can invite to come and speak to a group of attorneys about planning.
There's a group in town called Land of Sky Estate Planning Council, and if estates is definitely something you want to do, I would recommend trying to go to those meetings because they have, and basically it's a bunch of professional advisors and people that work on estates, so you've got a mixture of nonprofit folks that work in the plan giving arena as well as the advisor community.
Thank you.
You know, so much of what you do is based on trust. Kim's up here, so that means I've got to shut up.
Well, hey, thank you.
Thank you.
We appreciate. We We all need to go find that book and read it to our board. Great food for thought. You know, the point of these is to get the juices flowing, and sometimes it raises more questions and gives you answers, but we appreciate you coming today. We forgot to make one announcement. On October 4th, there's a session from 7:30 to, I think, 9 in the morning at Biltmore Hilton for executive leadership. We're trying to do those 2 or 3 times a year. And the topic is deliver persuasive presentations. And so if you're an executive leader, you have to register for that. It's on our website. And so check that out. And where are we going to be next month?
Warren Wilson.
Warren Wilson, not here.
With the North Carolina Network of Grantmakers.
North Carolina Grant Makers. I think we're going to try to send out a 1-page piece from Mandy, who's done some work around how to prepare for a face-to-face with one of those foundation people. Just some really quick bullet points if you haven't done it before, because it's like speed dating at this thing. You like have a few minutes and then you move to the next one. So we want to give you some tips on how, if you're going to go to this thing, some great questions and things that you should have prepared to tell them about your organization. When you click the link on our website to register, it takes you to their website, and then it's got all their information is there.
Can you tell Rhett Boney, who is the executive director of that group, that you know Hank Dunbar, and you will get treated right?
Will we all get money then?
I said you'll get treated right.
Okay. I'm sure Hank will hang around if you want follow-up conversation questions. But thanks again for being here, and we'll see you next month.